Hello there. Thank you so much for joining me again today. In the background, maybe you can hear the sound of the waves coming onto the shore. And as the weather gets a bit warmer, then I'll do more of these broadcasts outdoors and share the sea and the beaches with you. But let's do some sitting quietly together today. So just checking, as you have done before, that you're sitting comfortably, that you haven't got any tight clothing stopping you breathing in fully, that your back's really nicely supported so you can just relax back into your whatever you're sitting in and be held in an upright, alert way, and have your feet flat on the floor. And if we want to know what it is that is in the way, is the obstacle for finding the peace of mind that we're all looking for, then all we need to do is just take a minute out of our day and just do this little test. Can you count all the breaths that you breathe in for a minute? And breathe out, of course. So if I just breathe in and breathe out, and at the end of the out breath I just say silently to myself 1, and then 2 and 3 on the next ones, and then just see how far the counting goes before I lose track of it, before I lose track of which number I was on. So let's just do that for a minute together and see what number you get up to. So just following the rhythm of your own breathing, not trying to change that, just noticing breathing in and then breathing out. At the end of each out breath, count the next number. I'll let you know when a minute is up. So let's start now. So how did you do? I got up to 9.5. And because I've done a lot of practice, I didn't lose track of any of the breaths or any of the breathing. But it's likely for most of you that you lost track of where you were at least once, and realistically it would be a heck of a lot more than once. And the thing that took your attention away from your breathing is that your attention moved instead to whatever thought came up in your mind, whatever comment came up. Even if it was like you were still there on number 4, breath number 4, and the comment that came up was, "Oh, this isn't so difficult then," or "Oh, this feels really nice," or whatever the comment was. Because in that moment it just takes your attention away from the breath, and it takes your attention to where all the comments are appearing, which is in your mind. And the thing about that transition, that movement of the attention, is that it isn't noticed. It isn't noticed in that moment that your attention has moved from the breath to the thinking, to the comment, to the thought. So when the next thought follows the first one that took your attention away, there's no ripple, there's no obvious sign that you're now paying attention to thinking instead of paying attention to breathing. So in the early days of meditation, even if you're still just trying to do the 5 minutes a day that I've been asking you to do, it is completely normal that even in that 5 minutes, if you're not actually being able to follow your breath for very long at all. And I know I've said to you before that when I first came to meditation and I sat for an hour every morning, I was there. I was actually really in the room and in connection, in touch with my breathing, maybe like 4 or 5 times in an hour. So that just showed me, well, I probably already knew what the state of play was in my mind, that I couldn't keep my attention in one place, that I couldn't actually exercise much choice in where my attention was, because there was a constant stream of thinking, commenting, pictures for my mind to look at, memories to revisit, conversations to replay, future conversations that hadn't even taken place yet, that I was just having with myself in my mind. I'm sure you know how it goes. And so how did that change for me? Well, it changed because I had this intention, and this intention to change how things were came about as a result of following my intuition. There was something about, it was a book for me that somebody gave me that was the story of one person's journey in their life, and it involved meditation, which really it lit a fire within me. It put a light on, and the intuition within each of us knows which way to go. It knows what direction it intuitively wants to guide you in. And most of us are aware of that voice. Some of us really might be so lost that we're not even hearing that. And then that's a really difficult place to be in. In fact, things probably have to get even worse before we get to the place where we realise, I've really got to do something about this. And we can be in that place for years, in that way of being, that we're getting through the day and we're doing all the stuff that we need to do, or most of it, but we're not in touch with ourselves. And the backdrop to all of that is that feeling of unease that we live with, scratched, an itch that we can't scratch, a need that we can't satisfy fully. And that can go on for years and years and years. And we know that it's not satisfying, it doesn't complete us, it doesn't feel whole, but we don't know what the cause of it is. We don't know how to address that. And so we carry on doing the best that we can. But even if things get to such a pass that we just really can't stand it anymore, the way things are, and then we do something, we're propelled into doing something. Or it's got so bad that we give up, and then we manage to hear that voice, maybe for the first time in a long time, that inner voice, which just speaks to us from a clearer place about what direction we need to go in, or what is the next thing that we need to do. think Martin Luther King said, you don't have to be able to see the whole staircase, just take the next step. And it's been my experience that as I've really listened to the voice of intuition that knows that giving myself a time out each day, giving myself a break, you could call it a holiday, where I don't have to do anything, I don't have to pay attention to anything outside of myself. Instead, I can bring my attention, you could say, within myself for whatever period of time my intuition or my ability at that time allows me to do. So I've been asking you to give yourselves 5 minutes a day. Probably the truth is that 10 minutes would be more beneficial, because in the first 5 minutes we're still struggling with the thinking mind, but in the second 5 minutes we manage to actually start to tip the balance a little bit, that we actually can see a difference when we sit for a longer period. And we need to give up having some expectation that if I sit for 10 minutes then I want to feel that I'm going to feel, or I need to feel more relaxed. Instead, we just need to sit. We just need to sit comfortably, close our eyes. And as soon as we do that, we're beginning to slow down the thinking mind. And then when we actually choose, when we take this big step of choosing where we place our attention, when we practice that, then we're really starting to get somewhere. And choosing to put your attention and following the movement of your breathing may not sound much, but you're bringing your attention into the aliveness of here and now, which at some point you'll realize is where you want to be all the time. So keep up with the meditation. Try and do it as early as you can in your day. Even if you're not a morning kind of person, try and do it as early as you can. Take the heat out of it. Don't keep putting it off, because you could start to worry about, well, I haven't done my meditation yet today. So do it as early as you can in your day. See what happens when you put this space of silence and inner stillness in your day, to whatever degree you're able to do that when you come to sit. So that you can move from a place of wanting everything to be okay to not needing that, and instead being okay with how everything is, so that you are absolutely stable and calm, and you can experience everything as it comes and goes, even thoughts and emotions. They're not a problem. When you can come to the place where you can just be untroubled by everything, then you've come to a wonderful place. And that doesn't mean that we try to stop thoughts and emotions coming up, coming and going. Actually, quite the opposite. Instead of running away from emotions and feelings that we've struggled with, we can allow them to be the way they are, so that even in feelings of sadness, of aloneness, of grief, we are not overwhelmed by them. We can feel the full nature of them, the full flavour of them. We don't have to push anything away. But we won't be overwhelmed by them. And we'll still be here, connected to ourselves in this still silence, inner silence, when those thoughts and feelings have moved through us and passed on. So listen to your own inner wisdom. Couple that up with your intention to take the steps in the direction that that intuition is guiding you to, and make some space in your day for yourself. I look forward to seeing you next week. Thank you. Bye-bye.